Alright, this video explains how to fill out this particular foldable dimensional analysis. We'll go through each of the 5 problems, but you do need to know some conversion rates. So you need to be able to look at a conversion rate chart or just know some of the conversion rates, but we'll talk about them as we go through. So we have 5 different examples, and this is just the outside of that foldable, but we're going to work the problems on the inside. So just open up the first flap for example 1. Okay, so number 1 says we're going to convert 22 gallons to quarts. So I always like to identify what it is that we have, what we've been given, and what we're trying to convert it to. Okay, so we've been given 22 quarts, so we're going to write that on the, 22 gallons, so we'll write that on the far left-hand side. And over on the far right-hand side, I'm going to specify what I want to have the, whoops, that's supposed to be a Q. What I want my units to be. Okay, so in between these two items, I'm going to put my conversion factor. And you can kind of think of this as being a straight face. It kind of looks like a face with a straight mouth on it. So in the denominator or in the numerator, we're going to specify what we're going to change. So we need to look at 22 gallons and determine that 22 gallons is actually in the numerator because there is no denominator, but we can indicate a 1 in the denominator since there was none. That's the way we do whole numbers. So we have gallons in the numerator and we want gallons to go away. So the only way to divide out gallons is to then put it in the denominator. So the gallons has to go in the denominator, and what we're changing it to is quarts. So we're going to put quarts in the numerator. Okay, so the larger unit here is gallons. So we have 1 gallon, and how many quarts are in a gallon? Well, if you remember your gallon man, the gallon is the body, and the quarts are all the legs and arms, and so there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon, or 4 quarts per a gallon. So because we are able to we put gallons in the denominator, we can now divide out gallons, and so the only units that we're left with are quarts. So we can finish our problem by simply multiplying our numerators together. Here we have 22 times 4, and so 22 times 4 is 88. And in our denominator we have 1 times 1, which is 1, but we don't necessarily have to write 88 divided by 1 quarts. So the answer to this problem is simply 88 quarts. Okay, example 2 asks us how many fluid ounces does a 2-liter bottle of soda hold? So the first thing we need to ask ourselves is what has been given. So in this case, we have a 2-liter bottle of soda. So we're going to write 2-liter over on the left-hand side. And what are we looking for? Well, we're trying to find how many fluid ounces. So we're going to put fluid ounces over here. Okay, so we're going to try to figure out a conversion rate in between liters and fluid ounces. And actually, we do know a conversion rate between milliliters and fluid ounces, but we don't have milliliters, we have liters. So we're going to have to do 2 conversions. The first thing we're going to do is change liters to milliliters. So since we want the liters to go away, we have to put liters in the denominator. So we're going to put liters there, and we want to turn it into milliliters. So we know, based on our conversion rates, that there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. Okay, so we've been able to divide out the liters. So now we have milliliters, so we know how many milliliters are in 2 liters, but that's not what we want. We need to know how many fluid ounces. So now we can convert milliliters to fluid ounces because we know that there are 29.57 milliliters in 1 fluid ounce. So we can change the units from milliliters to fluid ounces by using that conversion rate. So 29.57 milliliters per 1 fluid ounce. And that will give us our answer in fluid ounces. So now to find our answer, we have to multiply all of our numerators. And remember, the 2 liter is just like 2 liter divided by 1. So we're going to look for all of our numerators. So we have a 2, and we have 1,000, and we have a 1. So we're going to multiply 2 times 1,000 times 1. That's our numerator. Our denominator is going to be 1 times 1 times 29.57. So 1 times 1 is just 1, and 1 times 29.57 is just 29.57. So that's in our denominator. So when we multiply our numerator together, we get 2,000, and then we're going to divide that by 29.57. So 2,000 divided by 29.57 equals 67.63, or actually 67.64, but we'll just call it 67.6 fluid ounces. Okay, problem 3 says that including the end zone, what is the length of the football field in inches? And it gives us a hint that a football field is 120 yards long. So I'm going to expand this so I have a little bit more working room. So we're given 120 yards. Okay, so it gives us the fact that the length of the field is 120 yards. So that's what we start with, 120 yards. And it wants us to identify it in inches. Okay, so that means we have to convert yards to inches. And some of us know how many inches are in a yard, but if you don't, we can do it in 2 steps because we do know how many feet are in a yard. So let's first change yards to feet. So we're going to do that by creating a conversion rate. So if yards, in this case, is in the numerator, just like it is, we want yards to go away, and we want feet to be in its place. So in order to make yards divide out, we have to put it in the denominator. That way we can divide the yards out. We also want to put in its place feet, which has to go in the numerator, and we just have to decide or indicate now what our relationship is, and we know that there are 3 feet per 1 yard. So now we've taken 120 yards, multiplying it by 3 feet per yard gets us the number of feet, but that's not what we want. We want the number of inches. So now that we have it in feet, we can change feet to be inches. So again, our feet is in our numerator, and we want it to go away, so therefore we must put feet in the denominator. So now that there's feet in the numerator and in the denominator, we can divide them out, and we want to change feet to be inches, so we're going to put that in its place in the numerator. So we also know the conversion rate between inches and feet. We know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So once we know that, and we notice that all of the different units have been divided out, so yards divided by yards, feet divided by feet, and so we're just left with inches, which means now we just have to multiply all of our numerators together and all of our denominators together, and we will have converted 120 yards to inches. So we're going to do that math first by identifying 120 times 3, so we're doing the numerator, times 12. So we get all of those numbers from up here. And then the denominator, we have a 1 times 1 times 1, which is just going to give us a 1. So when we do the math on the numerator, we get 4,320, and since we had inches up there, it's our part of our answer because it's the final remaining units. It's still up here. All the other units had been divided out.